There you are. Welcome to Zen Fits here in Blackstone, Virginia, the center of the world. But then you too are at the center of the world. So anyway, the title of this talk is The Joy of the Absurd. The Joy of the Absurd. So, being an old man here, you have to find your Zen fits where you can, because I don't go out much. I'm kind of like a recluse, and I'm on Facebook. But anyway, I don't have any adventures out there, so I create my adventures inside my Zen fits. So yesterday was very interesting because we all have good intentions. And so I got so we've been thinking about, my wife and I, we had two phones. So one was being paid for. And so, when this is done, we're going to switch over to a cheaper service. And yesterday I got an ad in the paper from Consumer Cellular saying, big deal, you get two phones for $50. And so forth. And I said, all right, what tripped it off, you see, was that the day before, I got this message from AT&T saying that your phone's paid for. So I said, oh, the phone's paid for, we can switch. So I called up, I'll just say CC, Cellular, Consumer Cellular, and said, I want to transfer. Okay, let's get going. So they I unblocked my, you have to unblock the phone, so I unblocked my phone and got transferred over. And then I got to transfer, and then they transferred my wife's phone over, but it wouldn't transfer because they couldn't unblock it. In other words, it hadn't been paid for. I thought they told me it was paid. But anyway, so the number got transferred to CC, and that means the number was disconnected from AT&T, but AT&T wouldn't release it because it wasn't paid for. So come to find out, so now I'm starting, we're going back and forth with the tech supports trying to figure out what happened. And as you all know, when you talk to tech supports, like a big AT&T or something like that, you talk to Asian women. And if you're like me with hard of hearing, being half demented at the same time, there's a lot of confusion going on there. What? What? Say again? What? I'm sorry. What? What? So anyway, the CC&C woman spoke clear English, but it was the AT&T that was confusing. Anyway, to make a long story short, so come to find out, finally found out what the problem was, that my wife's phone was in limbo. I had killed it. Had good intentions, but I had killed it. It couldn't go back, it couldn't go forward, and it couldn't stay where it was, because my wife I could not say, all right, your phone's dead, live with it. No. So this is a classic double bind. I talk about double binds all the time. Zen creates a double bind. If you are on a spiritual path and your goal, your intention is to deconstruct your sense of self or your ego, or to deconstruct the cause of your suffering, which is the ego. I like sense of self better because ego is kind of like, oh, I got an ego. Well, no, you don't have an ego. You are the ego, the sense of self, this little sense of being separate. And when you have a sense of being separate, a separate self, a separate thing, a separate person with a history and all that, you're going to hurt. A separate sense of self hurts because it's separate. And any little situation or person that makes you feel separate or humiliated or loss of control or denigrated or reduced makes you hurt. So if you want to deconstruct your sense of self, you want to get to the root, you want to yank this weed, you want to yank it out at the root, because most people just cut it off and the root just grows up in a new situation. Never get to the root. And the only way to get to the root is through humiliation. Which I'm calling here is the absurd. It's absurd. It was absurd that I couldn't, that my wife's phone was a metaphor for me, a metaphor for you, this double bind where nothing you do is any good. Everything you do just ties the knot. So this was my wife's phone. Or me, since my wife was going to kill me if I killed her phone, you saw. So ended up, what happened was that what the AT&T did was activate, I still owe $200. So they activated the payment so it would come, I would pay for it in the next month. So in the next month's bill, I would pay off the phone, okay. But for a month, they couldn't activate the phone because it wasn't paid for. You see the double bind here? The catch-22? That's a catch-22. You paid for the phone, but you can't unlock the phone so it can transfer, and it can't come back into the original AT&T because its number had been disconnected. It didn't exist. So there was no phone to bring back. Catch-22. It was such a beautiful trap. So anyway, but I was determined I am not going to kill my wife's phone, even though I had good intentions, and even though I was innocent. So I ended up, I had to drive 50 miles to Petersburg to the AT&T store, see if they could figure out what it was, and they gave me a SIM card. Ironically, he just gave me this card with his name on it, and he didn't tell me what it was. So I got back home, and I called up AT&T and finally got some nice Asian women that I could not understand. And they began going through the process and finally figured out that this card he gave me was a SIM number. And finally the tech support, the poor woman figured out that you couldn't, my iPhone would not insert a SIM, it was internal. So working through the problems, and so finally my Asian woman gave up, and she brought in the high-tech guy who also had an accent. And so it's now going on, 6 o'clock at night, and I'm halfway through a bottle of scotch. And so anyway, we finally figured out and got the numbers in, and these SIM numbers are long. I mean, you got to repeat these, by a 25-word number thing. You repeat it, and you keep missing the numbers, and repeat it. Finally, finally the tech guy gets it, and he puts it all together and goes, and it won't come on. It won't activate the internet, the wireless. It's still SOS, means you can. It's dead. You can make a 911 call, but you can't use it. He couldn't figure it out what it was. Go through the process over and on. I said, so I said, well, what if I power off the phone? He said, okay, try that. So I'd been turning. He'd say turn off the phone. I'd turn it off. I didn't power off. So finally, I said, why not power off the phone? He says, oh, okay, try that. So I powered off, and it worked. It worked. And so this was about 8 o'clock at night. But all through this whole process, I never lost my inner peace. I never went bananas. I never threw the phone against the wall. My wife was going, oh, God, will I ever get my phone back? So I powered through. And the beautiful thing about it that I enjoy was that it was my suggestion that fixed it. Power off. Power off. And that's Zen. Power off. When you get caught in the absurd, in the theater of the absurd, where nothing works. And it's absurd because life does work. The universe does work. The cosmos does work. Your life does work. Life works. But when you get caught in a Zen fit, Nothing you do works. So all this effort to fix it just creates more the fix, and you just kick the fix down the road. And that's absurd. That's absurd. So when you see that it's absurd, you laugh. You laugh. It's absurd. We laugh with the absurd. We watch comedies. They're absurd, and we just fall on the floor and laugh. Laurel and Hardy is absurd that they self-defeat each other. It's absurd, so we laugh, you know. So the absurd is where you're going to end up if you have the intention of deconstructing your ego or your sense of importance. That's the point. Your sense of self is the sense of importance. I'm somebody. You're Rodney Dangerfield. I never get respect. That's absurd. So really, if you meditate on the absurd, you'll discover the laughter of the absurd. And when you discover the laughter of the absurd, you turn the power of the ego off. You just turn the power of the sense of self off that is driving this absurdity. And when you you just realize it's absurd, when you realize there's no escape, when you realize there's nothing you can do to get out of the fix, and that's absurd, that seeing there's nothing you can do evokes the power of the absurd, and you laugh and you say, what? You look up at God and say, what else can you do? What else? Give me your best shot, God. Is this all you got? Is this all you got? Give me your best shot. Is that your best shot? So when you get to that point, you see, you automatically, that turns the power off. You don't have to turn the power off. It turns off when you see the absurdity. But when you see the seriousness of it, the serious thing, my wife's going to lose her phone, and I'm getting frustrated, and I'm getting angry, and I'm starting to yell at the tech support, like, you idiot. I mean, people go mad. They go mad, you say, over what? It's absurd. It's absurd, and that is Zen. The Zen fit is when you realize that the fit is absurd. And seeing the absurdity of it is freeing you from the absurdity of it, and laughter breaks out. You fall on the floor laughing. It's absurd. Thanks for dropping in.